From time to time, people ask me about Kratom addiction. How can I kick the habit? I quit Kratom. Do you want to hear my story? Are you open to consultations about quitting Kratom? And that's great. I love interacting with you guys. But if you don't know me, you might be thinking, and who are you to give advice about quitting Kratom? Well, I studied addictology and molecular biology, and I invested a lot of time and energy into studying drugs and addiction, and I have a diploma to back it up. I also successfully quit Kratom a couple of years ago, and at one point of my life I was using it daily. In this video, I want to summarize my thoughts about quitting Kratom and how you can attempt it too. Of course, quitting Kratom is not as easy as watching one video. If you were, no one would really need these videos, would they? But even so, I hope I can give you some tips and tricks and help you prepare and manage your expectations, and hopefully you will find this video useful. So, let's dig into it. In the first section of the video, I want to talk about you. And I think a lot of advice I'll give in this video will work on other substances as well, at least it did for me. So tell me, what do all these habits have in common? Well, me, or in your case, you. You are the most important part of your habits. You're the center of your habits. So I want us to think about you. It's quite possible that you already know yourself well. It's also quite possible that you think you know yourself well, but you really don't. Or you might be really confused about yourself. But whatever it is, don't worry about it too much. Getting to know yourself better is a journey, and it doesn't really matter at what point of your journey you are. Plus, with time, you change. And don't be afraid of change. Change is not a bad thing. We need to change to grow. So in this section, I want to give you things to think about, questions for you, and they're just for you, and you can take all the time in the world to answer them. You don't need to do it publicly. You can write it in a journal, or you can just think about it. Doesn't really matter. It's all on you. What feels comfortable for you. There are no wrong answers. I think taking the time to understand yourself, and in this case, understand your relationship with Kratom, can help you immensely. So don't skip this step. It might be a lot of questions, so I created a cheat sheet so you could follow along. You can print it out, you can put it on your tablet, whatever you want. I'll put the link in the video description. It's just a simple PDF, no viruses attached. And I know it's a lot of questions and you might not be in the mood. Well, in that case, you can skip to this timestamp where I describe the physical withdrawal symptoms of Kratom. But honestly, I think you shouldn't skip it. I think going through these questions is essential. Not just these questions, any questions that help you get to know yourself better. And you can answer right away, just pause the video after every question, or you can use them as a starting point. Let's start with the reason you started taking Kratom in the first place. What started it? Were you bored, tired, unsatisfied with something in your life that you could or couldn't change? Did your friends introduce you to it and you just kind of started taking it without thinking about it too much? Did you use it to substitute for other drugs like opiates or alcohol? Identifying the reason why you started can help you think about whether the reason is gone or not. And if it's not gone, what makes you think that this is a good time to stop? Do you think the reason will be also the reason for your relapse? Give yourself some time to think about it and be honest about it. Don't lie to yourself. You can lie to others, but not to yourself. And in the next section of these questions, I want you to think about what you're ready to give up when you give up Kratom. Because giving up drugs is not easy. Are you ready to struggle? Are you in the position to make the change? I feel like there's this sentiment that if you quit, you will feel better. And you will, eventually. But there's this whole hole you dig for yourself that you need to overcome before you can feel better. And maybe you do realize that withdrawals suck. But I feel like a lot of people underestimate how much they suck. And what's the time range to feel better? We will talk more about what you can expect from the withdrawal in the withdrawal section of the video, but Kratom can cause psychological and physiological pain. And there's no cheating through it. You will probably need to grit your teeth and just hang on. Then there are the questions about your motivation. Why did you decide to quit? Why now? Is it something you've been thinking about for a long time? Was it triggered by a specific traumatic event? Are you worried about your health? Do your loved ones pressure into quitting? Do you want to save money? There's a lot of reasons out there and not one of them is bad. Are you ashamed about your real reason? Don't be, it's okay. And how important is that reason for you? I want you to forget about other people for a while and just think about what is in it for you. Next, think about the future. Do you have a plan? With Kratom, you can taper off slowly, or you can quit cold turkey. Which one do you prefer? Both have their advantages and disadvantages, and I'll go through them later in the video. What are you planning to do with your time? I think this is an important question, one that many people might not think about when they quit any drug really. But taking drugs takes a lot of time, and it also helps you feel, not bored. So when you quit drugs, you have a lot of time often, you have more time, and you also feel bored because your brain was used to this boost and now it's gone. And you don't want to be taken by surprise. And I suppose this could be less of a problem with Kratom than with other drugs, but still, I want you to think about it. Be prepared to be bored and annoyed, and maybe even regret your decision to quit. It'll pass, but don't let these feelings take advantage of you. It's part of the process. And also, do you live with someone? Do you live with a loved one? If so, are they prepared to deal with your withdrawals? Because if you feel bad, if you have mood swings or feel tired all the time, it will definitely affect them. If you live with someone who's supportive, I think you should set expectations with them in advance so they're not taken by surprise. Also, how will you manage withdrawals and cravings? You are pretty likely to experience both. If you work, can you take time off work if you feel sick? Would it be a problem if you can't perform for some time as you would usually? Are you at risk of getting fired? What are your triggers? What situations do you think put you at risk of relapsing? Start with these questions, and then maybe browse some more questions as you dig deeper. And if you have any other interesting questions that came to your mind, feel free to share them in the comments. I'd love to expand this section. And as promised, let's first take a look at physical withdrawal symptoms, which can resemble opioid withdrawal symptoms. There's quite a lot of them, but you might only get a small subset or none at all, although that would be rare. Kratom causes physical dependence, so giving it up confuses your body, but luckily Kratom withdrawal doesn't kill. Symptoms can be first felt about 5 to 24 hours after your last dose, and they should last for up to 7 days. The severity of these symptoms is linked to the amount, frequency, and duration. So in layman's terms, how often did you use, how long did you keep the habit up, and what your daily dose looked like. Higher doses generally result in more intense withdrawal symptoms. Physical withdrawal symptoms include mydriasis or dilated pupils, which indicates nervous system arousal. Many people suffer from gastrointestinal problems like nausea or diarrhea, and even hiccups. Your bodily temperature can go crazy and you might experience hot flashes or fever, sweating, and chills. Muscle and body aches, muscle spasms, tremors, and twitches can occur. On your face, you might experience rhinorrhea or runny nose, or lacrimation, where your tear ducts are overactive. People can also experience tachycardia, or rapid heart rate, and hypertension, high blood pressure. Joint pain was also frequently reported. These symptoms occur because Kratom acts on opioid receptors in your brain, which leads to dependence over time. And although it is not a traditional opioid, your body's adaptation to its presence means that removing it causes a sudden imbalance in your brain chemistry. As a result, the body reacts with a range of symptoms as it attempts to stabilize. Data about psychological withdrawal symptoms from Kratom come primarily from self-reports and anecdotal evidence or experiences shared online by users. And much of the available research focused on men, particularly Malaysian men, so keep that in mind. Psychological withdrawal symptoms can start after you stop consuming Kratom abruptly, as early as 5 to 9 hours after your last dose. They can also persist for longer than physical symptoms and can last for up to a month. People experiencing psychological withdrawal from Kratom often report difficulties with sleep, such as insomnia, which can worsen overall discomfort. This can also be paired with fatigue. So you're tired but you can't sleep. Restlessness and irritability is also common, and some people experience heightened hostility. Anxiety is frequently reported, or feelings of unease, and overall mood instability and disturbances. People experience a whole range of unpleasant emotions such as sadness, frustration, and distress. The whole experience can also be made more fun by loss of appetite and intense cravings. Good news is that suicidal ideation was not reported. And although less common, some people experience hallucinations, and if you do, you should get professional help. The self-reported severity of these psychological symptoms tends to be mild to moderate, depending on the symptom. For example, anxiety is more pronounced than depressive symptoms, and interestingly, the intensity of anxiety does not appear to be related to the amount of kratom used. Depressive symptoms can be more severe in individuals who use higher doses of kratom. And I think knowing about these symptoms in advance can help you plan and prepare for them. And I don't know about you, but when I feel bad, it helps me immensely knowing why I'm feeling that way. When quitting, you have to make a difficult decision, whether to quit cold turkey or taper off slowly. When it comes to kratom, both are viable, and the decision is entirely up to you. Gradually decreasing your daily dose takes more discipline in the beginning. It could be difficult as you might feel like you're not actively quitting, and for some people, I imagine, they might even feel like they don't struggle enough with this approach, and I feel like some people feel like they're doing something when they suffer. But as a benefit, you might face less to none withdrawal symptoms. When tapering off, you want to make sure that you stay faithful to one source, one brand, one type. As there's very little regulation, you don't know what's in the product you're buying, and you want to minimize any jumps in your mitragynine intake. You might want to plan ahead and bulk prepare your doses in advance and have them ready to use throughout the week so you don't have to do it every time. We don't really have much research about what the reductions should look like, and anecdotally, according to the World Wide Web, you should aim at about half a gram every 1 to 2 days, which is not a whole lot, so you might want to use a pretty precise scale. Eyeballing this amount is virtually impossible. If you start to develop withdrawal symptoms, don't increase your dose. Just keep the same dose and then start reducing it again when you feel better. But of course, it's not for everyone, and in some people, tapering off can trigger relapses, and in that case, you might want to give cold turkey a try. Cold turkey can have other benefits and other downsides. It's great that in the beginning, you probably feel super motivated, and although you might not be feeling well, your motivation levels will be high, so that can fuel you. Now, fortunately, you cannot rely on motivation to do things. It will inevitably fade, and for the first week or so, you might feel strong, and later in the process, you might be tempted to start again when you feel really bad. The negatives are that you might face more severe withdrawal symptoms and experience more cravings. And I personally am a fan of tapering slowly, but this is your journey, so think about what suits you. And don't worry about it too much. You can always change your mind later. While there is no universal guideline to kratom withdrawal management, symptomatic management is usually recommended. Technically, since this is an opioid withdrawal, protocols for opioid withdrawals can be used. But my advice would probably be very simple. Keep it easy. Plan in advance and try to quit in a quieter, less demanding period of your life. And of course, in some cases, going through a massive change in your life can work well with kicking a habit. Like when someone dumps you for using kratom, you might want to, you might be motivated enough to quit it and become the best version of yourself. But for most cases, I think it's better to pick a quieter period of your life. You don't need to make things more difficult. Think about what makes you feel better when you're down. Of course, there's not a whole lot you can do with the physical symptoms unless you cooperate with a physician, but there are probably some things that can make you feel better. Maybe it's exercise. Maybe it's lying in a bubbly bath with a top of ice cream. Buy yourself your favorite tea, which is not kratom, snuggle in bed and read books. Be especially nice to yourself in this period. And sometimes, you might slip. Of course, no one wants to relapse, but It happens. So if it does, be kind to yourself. Maybe you had a hard day, maybe you had a good day and felt the need to celebrate. Whatever it is, don't be hard on yourself. Your progress is not ruined by relapsing. You can just skip the next dose and the next one. Just resume as you would if you didn't relapse. It's okay. Life is not only zeros and ones. And I think relapse is a part of recovery. It's completely natural and nothing to be ashamed of. Addiction is not a failure of will, but a complex issue, and replacing these habits takes time. And sobriety is not something you can reach faster because your brain needs time to recover, and you need time to restructure your brain, so give it time. I truly believe that, and I hope you'll be kind to yourself. So in this video, we went through a lot of questions that you can ask yourself, and I hope I gave you a lot to think about. We went through what you can expect according to some studies. And of course, there are weaknesses to these studies, and studying anything on humans can be exceptionally complicated. We often rely on self-reporting, and you might be swayed by people who write about their experience online, and people who want to share their experience probably experience something intense. If you just gave up Kratom and you think, meh, you probably won't really write about it. Some people would, but not everyone. But according to studies, only about 10% experience very severe negative effects after giving up Kratom. And although we talked about a lot of horribly sounding symptoms, it actually seems that Kratom withdrawal is pretty kind to the user. And most users don't even need professional help. Although if you do, there's no shame in that. There are people who are trained to do this. And I want to make sure to stress here that I am not against Kratom. I think it should be legal, although I think we should have some regulations. I think we should take precautions, increase the quality, have quality assurance, and sell it in specialized shops so it wouldn't be readily available to children. But I think taking Kratom can be a good experience, just like using any other drug can. But using it to solve your problems doesn't work. And also it doesn't mean that it's for everyone, and it doesn't mean that it's entirely safe. Everything in life has its risks, and with Kratom, you risk developing a dependence if you use it too often. It can make you sick if used in higher doses. Regulation is not good enough, so you never know what's in the powder you just bought. Is it food grade quality? Well, who knows? And I guess that if you clicked on this video, you're at the end of your Kratom journey, but if not, hear my warning. Kratom is a drug and it is addictive, so keep that in mind when using it. If you're an adult, if you're underage, you might want to wait for a couple of years, and I will make a video about why we have these laws about underage drug use. So if you're interested, you can follow my YouTube channel, and hopefully YouTube will show it to you once it's ready. And if you're interested in playing mobile games, you could try my game. It's called Mushroom Match and it's available on both Android and iOS, and I'll be happy if you give it a try. There are currently quite a lot of fixes and improvements I'm working on, so hopefully I'll make the game even better. But that's it for today's video. I hope you learned something new, something interesting, and good luck on your journey. Thanks for watching, see you next time.